The Tennis Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by, once again, Arctic Fantasy, because you can get up to $1,000 deposit match with Arctic Fantasy with the promo code SGPN. And welcome, everybody, to the Tennis Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. It is currently Thursday night, July 3rd, around 10 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm Scott Reichel once again going solo for this pod. Time to get into the breakdown of the third round of Wimbledon, taking place, of course, on Friday and Saturday. Forward into the actual plays and the breakdowns of matches for the third round. Brief recap of what happened in the last episode for the lock and dog picks. Overall, a decent episode for us. Did hit the lock. We had Bonzi and Thompson over 39.5 games, minus 118. Never in doubt. Match went to 5 sets. Went over well before that for games. It's a nice, easy winner there for the lock. For the dog, not even close, had Quinn to win, and both players won a set of plus 174, as Quinn did get buried, as he ended up losing in straight sets. Complete no-show by him. Majchik was great, and Quinn got destroyed. But either way, picked up a nice win for the lock, ended up breaking even, basically. Looked for a winning day here in the third round. Anyway, before we get into the actual breakdown of the matches in the third round, a reminder, you can help support the show by leaving a like and subscribing to the YouTube channel. Plus, a reminder, check out the actual, podcast on Spotify and Apple for audio formats only. And when you do so, check out the podcast. I'll leave a rating and a review when you do check out the podcast on Spotify or Apple. Plus, a reminder, check out the merch store because we have a lot of great tennis content on the merch store. Shirts, sweatshirts, and mugs, high quality, very affordable. Check that out. Plus, a reminder, you can find all of the picks and podcasts for the network, not just this show, but for the other shows in the network in one easy location. Check out the SGPN feed on Spotify or Apple, and also check out the SGPN app, free to download, and we have all of our picks and podcasts there as well. Anyway, starting off with the actual recap of the second round of Wimbledon. Overall, a couple of more upsets, but not nearly as intense in terms of upsets as the first round. So Norrie ended up beating Tiafoe in 4. That was an upset there as Tiafoe was ranked. Brooksby ended up losing to Fonseca in 4. Saw Kashanov on upset alert, down 2-1 to Mochizuki. Then he came back and he won in 5. Manarino ended up beating Royer in 4. Tien got destroyed as Jari beat him in straight sets. Rublev survived as he won in 4 against Harris. So Borges beat Harris as well in the straight sets. Nakashima ended up beating Bu in the continuation of the previous day as he won in 4. Alcaraz won in straight sets. Saw Thompson, who was rumored to be potentially on the verge of quitting the entire tournament. Instead, he ended up winning, and he ended up surviving what was a 4-hour marathon, basically, as he came back from 2-1 down, beating Bonzi in 5. Saw Bellucci upset Leheshka, a bit of a shock there in straight sets. Majchik beat Quinn in straight sets, and you saw Fritz get pushed to the brink again, but he was able to survive as he was able to beat Diallo in 5 sets. As for the matches on Thursday, we were right about Kaza winning a set against de Minaur. That's what happened, as de Minaur did lose the first set, won the next 3 convincingly. Kaboli beat Pennington Jones in straight sets. Saw Mentic beat Giron in 4. You saw Kecmanovic beat De Jong in 4 as well. Dimitrov outlasted Moutet. Fun matchup there. 3 separate 7-5 sets. Kind of rare, but either way, Dimitrov won in 4 sets. Fekina beat Dzanchop in 4. Saw Munar beat Fuxovic in straight sets. Rinderknech outlasted Green as he won in 5. Fresh off the 5-set win against Zverev in the previous round. You saw Felix lose to Struff, which is not nearly as surprising as you might think, because we know that we're a lot lower on Felix on this podcast than probably other people. But Felix had some opportunities in the second set tiebreak, choked them away, and then they resumed play today, and he had nothing as he lost in 4 sets. Djokovic went God mode. He only lost 5 games the entire match against Evans, destroyed him, won the final set in a bagel. So Holmgren won a very weird and fun match, as every set besides one was a tiebreak. You had a 7-6, a 6-7, a 6-7, a 7-5, and a 7-6. Monkic actually had a couple of match points, did not convert, and then eventually saw Holmgren win in a final set superbreaker, 10-5. Fun matchup there, good for the youngster, as he was able to get into the third round for the first time in Wimbledon. But a crazy match featuring a lot of drama, and it took about 4.5 hours. But a nice win for Holmgren in that one. So Darderi beat Ferry in straight sets. Saw Martinez beat Navone in straight sets. Saw Nakashima beat Opelka in 4. Paul ended up losing, another American right down the drain. Him and Tiafoe, other ranked Americans who lost in the second round. Paul rolled his ankle again, but Offner was able to settle in after dropping the first set, won the next 3 sets as he advanced in upset fashion in 4. Saw Cilic pull off the shocking upset of the round as he was able to beat Draper in 4 sets. Cilic did great, served very well, and after kind of punting away the 3rd set, bounced back and he won the 4th set 6-4. Sonego won a marathon against Basilashvili. The breaker in the last set was very competitive. In fact, Sonego served for the match, choked it, and then eventually did win the breaker anyway. And Vukic got an A for effort, I guess, as Sinner destroyed him very convincingly in straight sets, 6-1, 6-1, 6-3. Nothing you really do. We know that Sinner is on a different planet compared to him, and Vukic got destroyed. So once again, you had some drama, a couple of ranked players losing. Draper going down was the shocker of the entire round as Cilic turned the clock back. Cilic was able to win a grass challenger about a week or 2 ago, kept it rolling, and he was able to win this match against Draper as a shocking upset. We thought he would win a set, but either way, point is we didn't think he'd win the match, and he did. So nice job by Cilic. The draw completely opened up, and you're going to see how far he can go. Yes, it is the Djokovic quarter, so Joker is thrilled at Bublik and once again Draper losing already before the start of the 3rd round. But either way, point is you might see maybe Cilic making a run. Who knows? We'll see what happens. But either way, checking out the comment section here, see a couple of usual suspects here. I see D. Johnson saying he made $200 betting on tennis today. Congrats, nice job with the winnings. See John stopping by. I see Leonard stopping by as well. And looking at everybody else, I see Uneducated back once again. So thank you to all the usual people as well as the new people for checking out the pod. I think the last episode had 800 viewers, which might be I'd say a high for this channel. So thank you, and hopefully we keep building on that number. Anyway, starting off with the actual matches for the 3rd round. I'm going to do a couple, then we'll do a break for an ad. Starting off with the first match here, you have Rublev against Manarino. Now, Rublev's minus 315. Manarino is plus 235. For the spread, you have minus 4.5 for Rublev, plus 4.5 for Manarino, and the over-under is at 38.5. Now, for that, Ted, it has been quite lopsided in favor of Rublev. Rublev is currently 5-0. He's 3-1 lifetime against Manarino, and all 3 wins were in straight sets. Beat him in Shanghai 2023 in straight sets, beat him in Astana in straight sets, didn't lose to him in Moscow in 3 sets, ended up beating him in Moscow in straight sets 2019. So the point is Manarino has really not had much success against Rublev in the past. We'll see if he can do a better job this time around on grass. He's been good so far in the event. Went through qualifying, only dropping 1 set to 2 in the final round of qualifying. Beat O'Connell in straight sets and ended up dropping the 3rd set to Royer, came back and won the 4th. So Manarino's been good overall. As for Rublev, he's been fine too. Did drop a set to De Gere and did drop a set to Harris, but he's definitely been looking pretty good. Question is, can Manarino keep this match somewhat competitive? Maybe for a set. I think I'll pick Rublev to win and both players to win a set. He could potentially win in straight sets. I acknowledge that. But I think Rublev should be able to overpower Manarino over the course of this matchup. Yes, I know Manarino's comfortable on grass. I'm aware of it. But I do think you're looking at Rublev, who's in good form, be 2 pretty decent opponents here in the first 2 rounds. I think that Rublev's in a good spot to keep the momentum rolling. I do think Manarino, despite winning in the first 2 rounds, had weak competition against O'Connell and against Royer. So I do see a step up here for Manarino. I think eventually the clock will strike midnight. I think maybe he wins a set, but I don't mind maybe the set spread for Rublev in this one. If you want to go for the set spread, you can find the minus 1.5 sets available at about minus 140, give or take. I don't mind that. I think he wins in 4. If you want to go for Rublev to win and both players to win a set, you can do that too at a plus money price. If you wanted to find that, you can find that available, pulling it up right now, at around plus 130. I don't mind that. Give me Rublev in 4 as my thought for this matchup. Moving on to the next matchup, you have, we can jump around a little bit. We are going to go with Mychik against Rinderknech. For this one, Rinderknech as a favorite, but not by a lot, minus 125. You have Mychik at plus 100. For the over-under, I see 42.5. You have, for the game spread, minus 1.5. For Rinderknech, plus 102. You have Mychik plus 1.5 at minus 134. Now, Rinderknech has had a very rough go of it in terms of having easy matches because he hasn't had any. He's had a couple of marathons, 1-5 against Zverev, 1-5 against Garin. So not exactly a great scheduling spot for him in the tournament so far. As for Mychik, he's been looking good. Beat Berrettini in 5, ended up destroying Quinn in straight sets. So based on the schedule, it is a good spot for Quinn. You might look at the matchup and ask yourself, if one of these guys beats Zverev and ended up winning the next round, why is he such a small favorite? And the argument would be based on the lack of proper rest and recovery time entering matches. I think Rinderknecht might run out of gas here. He had a pretty rough go of it for parts of that green match. I think you're looking at what should be a very close battle against Mychik. The over makes sense, but it is very high. I'll go with the, once again, dog here. I think it's a coin flip. I don't mind Mychik winning in either 4 or 5. I think it'll be close. I think you can find some value if you want to go for Mychik to win and both players want to set. I don't see either guy winning in straight sets. So if you want to go for that approach, you can find, pulling it up right now. You can find Mychik to win and both players to win a set available at around plus 200. I like that on FanDuel. I'll take that as a main thought for this matchup. Before we get into the remainder of the match we're going to talk about for the third round, reminder, brought to you by our sponsor, which is once again Circa, because they're still hosting the Circa Millions and Circa Survivor contest. You can enter with $21 million in guaranteed prizes. There's no rake. If the entries go above the guarantee, all money will go to the prize pool, no matter how much they go over the initial $21 million in guaranteed. Circa Millions, though, pick 5 teams ATS, and you do that each week. Go for the Ultimate Survivor contest with the Ultimate Sweat to get into that too. Also enter the Circa Grandissimo, a Survivor pool with a 100K entry. Let's register in person at Circa Sportsbook in Vegas. And also a reminder, you can sign up in Vegas and play from anywhere. You get the help from SGPN's official proxy. Go to footballcontest.com, use the code SGP, you get $50 off your proxy fees. We're also brought to you by MyBookie, because they're available to locations. Use crypto for deposits. You can also use it for MLB, for WNBA, for tennis, for golf, you name it. Also use it, once again, for a ton of different locations, which could help you deal with some potential legalized sports book issues in your actual state. When you sign up, though, for your new account, use the code SGPN to get a $100,000 match up to 1K. Terms and conditions apply. The DG promo code SGPN. Welcome back, everyone, to the Tennis Game Podcast. Time to keep rolling here with the third round breakdowns here for the matches. Moving on to the next match we're going to talk about. Going to skip over a couple. We have Borges against Khachanov. Khachanov's about minus 280, give or take. And as for Borges, he's around I see plus 200, give or take, but chop around, you find better numbers. Minus 4.5 for Khachanov, plus 4.5 for Borges. The over-under is at 39.5. Now, Khachanov has been winning, has not looked that great. Mochizuki took him to 5 sets. Khachanov looked awful over the course of the early stage of the matchup. Got by, pretty fortunate to actually win that second set breaker, but he was able to win that, lose the third set, won the fourth and the fifth. Beat McDonald, though, in straight sets. So getting mixed signals from Khachanov. One great match, one bad match. We'll see how he looks in this one. For Borges, he's been good. Ended up winning in 4 against Cerundolo, beat Harris in 3. He's been good so far in the event. Now for the head-to-head, faced off one time a couple years ago in the French Open. Khachanov did win in 4 sets. Do I care? Not really. Borges has gotten better since then, and he has looked pretty good on grass so far. For the matchup itself, broken record, I think that Khachanov can win. I think he might lose the match in theory. I think Borges is actually alive to make this match very close. But I think that for the value, I'll go with the over in this one. I think it'll be close. Khachanov has been hitting some unforced errors, and we do know that his actual game plan can be quite one-dimensional. He's going to stand behind the baseline and try to outlast the opponents. Unforced errors, though, could be an issue. I think Borges has some variety that can frustrate Khachanov. An upset could be on the cards here. I'll go with the over instead. Give me at least 4 sets, maybe a breaker in there. But I do see around 39.5 or 40.5. I think that total actually feels kind of low. I'll go with the over for that one. Anyway, moving on to a question here. I see a question from Andrew. Is there value on Fritz to win the quarter at plus 125? What about Alcaraz, Sinner, and Joker at plus 134? The Alcaraz, Sinner, and Joker one is going to sound completely free to me because I don't see anybody beating any of those 3 people, especially after our Joker looked against Evans in the second round. I think he was in a good spot anyway, but Draper lost 2. Joker should coast, Sinner should coast, Alcaraz should coast. Plus 134 sounds good to me. I think that's a pretty good plus money price. For Fritz, it's tricky because he's winning. A lot of guys in his quarter have already lost, but he's gone to 5 sets quite often recently, so I question the overall stamina for Fritz moving forward, but I do think he should win it at plus 125. Would I bet that? No. I would rather bet the three-person parlay of Alcaraz, Sinner, Djokovic, pure chalk in the quarters. Plus 134, I like it. I don't see either of those guys losing. So once again, I'll go with that instead at plus 134. Moving on to the next actual match we're going to talk about, the matchup between, we'll go with Jarry against Fonseca for this one. So Fonseca's decent favorite. He's about minus 220, give or take. Shop around there, you can find different numbers, but I see around plus 220. For Jarry, I see plus 180 for the spread, minus 3.5 for Fonseca, plus 3.5 for Jarry. The over-unders at 40.5. Now, Jarry has been very good so far in the event, went through qualifying without dropping a set, beat Rune in a 5-set marathon, then ended up beating Tien comfortably into the second round. For Fonseca, he's been good as well, ended up having a pretty rough go of it on grass entering Wimbledon, but he turned it around, beat Fernley in straight sets, and beat Brooksby in 4. So a good showing there, but we know Jarry does possess different challenges compared to those two guys because Brooksby, not a great server, Fernley an okay server, but a massive step up because Jarry's been serving bombs all tournament. Now, for the actual matchup itself, I think there's some value on the over personally. I think you're going to see a breaker minimum. I think you're going to end up seeing 4 sets. Jarry could win this, though. It would not shock me if Fonseca fell a bit short. We saw, for example, in the Australian Open, he beat Rublev, everyone jumped on board, and he lost to Sonego. I'm not saying that Jarry is the same level of that actual situation, but I think you're looking at Fonseca, who's constantly overvalued by sportsbooks, and I do think that Jarry's serve can equalize the actual talent disparity between these two players. So I don't mind maybe going for Jarry, a team total over maybe, if you want to go for what could be a marathon. I see a breaker, though. I see a lot of pretty long sets. Give me the over for the games here at around 39.5 or 40.5. Moving on to the next match we're going to talk about. Going to jump to the next day, actually. Actually, you know what? We'll do one more. Talking about Struff against Alcaraz. So Alcaraz, of course, massive favorite. Alcaraz about minus 4,000. For Struff, you have about 11-1, 15-1, etc. Shop around, find yourself the best price. Now, for the spread, minus 7.5 for Alcaraz, plus 7.5 for Struff. The over-under for team total is about, 19.5 for Alcaraz for this matchup, plus 120 on the over. The under is minus 162. For Struff, you have 11.5. The over is minus 130. The under is about even money. And for the over-under in games for the matchup, the over-under is set at about 31.5. Now, for that, Ted, it's been close, actually. Alcaraz has won most of the meetings, but none of them have been easy. Faced off in each of the last 3 meetings. They have all not ended in straight sets. In fact, they ended up facing off 4 times in their careers, and Struff has won at least 1 set in all 4 meetings. He won the first ever meeting in the French Open in 2021. Since then, faced off in Wimbledon 2022, before Alcaraz had his massive run, he still had a Grand Slam or 2 under his belt, but the point is he was not exactly great on grass. 1 in 5 against Struff there. Faced off on clay a couple times in Madrid in 2023. Alcaraz 1 in 3. Faced off in Madrid in the event last year, and Alcaraz once again 1 in 3. So Struff, despite not being in great form recently, has A, looked pretty good here in the event. B, has just given Alcaraz problems, winning at least 1 set in all 4 head-to-head meetings. For this one, I like the over, actually. I see some value on what could be a bit of a longer match. If you want to argue for maybe 4 sets, I don't hate it. But I think there's a path for Alcaraz to once again find a way to go over the team total despite not actually going to a 4th set. I do like the over in games, though. I think 31.5 does actually feel kind of low. If you get a breaker in there, you can definitely work out to a good situation to help cash the over. I don't mind the Struff team total over, though. At 11.5, you get the breaker in there, couple of 6-3s, you still win. Gets you to 12. So I do think you're looking at a spot where Struff can lose in straight sets, have 1 very close set, and I think you're good to go. The breaker in the match is actually a plus 108. I like that too. I think Struff can serve well enough to use the volley tactics as well to somewhat restrict the effectiveness of the Alcaraz return. We saw it a couple years ago in Wimbledon, and Struff did end up losing in 5, but you ended up getting a breaker in that match as well, and a 7-5 set as well. So I think you're looking at what should be a close matchup. Don't mind the over for this match. I think Alcaraz will win. Minus 3,000 was massive for a guy that took him 5 sets in the Savannah a couple years ago. I think Alcaraz wins in probably a close 3 or 4 sets. But I can see a breaker in here. Don't mind the plus 108 tiebreak bet for some plus money value, but I don't mind the team total overs or the full match over for this one. I'm moving on to the next matchup here. Going to jump to the next day on Friday. So that was actually Friday, moving on to Saturday. So for this one, going to start off with Nakashima taking on Sonego. Pretty fun matchup actually on paper, an underrated matchup on paper. Now for the actual pricing for both players here, you have Nakashima, who is going to be the favorite, not by a ton, but still the favorite. He is currently, trying to find the exact price here. What can I find? Sorry, just trying to dig it up right now. Nakashima is about minus 200, give or take. You have Sonego plus 162. For the actual spread here for games, I see the spread being minus 3.5 for Nakashima, plus 3.5 for Sonego. The over-under is once again at about 40.5 games. Now for that, Ted, you are looking at what has been one career meeting based off in Hong Kong last year. Sonego did win in straight sets. Now, I will admit both guys have looked good so far in the event. Nakashima was able to beat Opelka in 4. Opelka is honestly just not going to beat Nakashima. It's a bad matchup for him. Nakashima has size, not as much as Opelka, but he can get enough returns in play, and he serves very well. Opelka just won't beat him. I think Opelka's good enough, and we saw Nakashima win in 4, pretty convincingly, though, in the majority of those sets. Also beat Bu in 4 sets. For Sonego, though, he's been in great form, beating Faria in straight sets and beating Basilashvili in 4. Now, for the actual matchup itself, I don't see an easy path for Nakashima. I think his path's been pretty easy in general, beating Bu and Opelka, who have both not been great on grass. Even Opelka, with a good serve, has really never been a great grass player. I think you're looking at, once again, a pretty easy schedule. Sonego, you could argue, a decent schedule as well. Faria, though, can serve pretty well. Basilashvili can be dangerous on grass. We saw him go through qualifying. I think that was a good win, high-quality match. A ton of long rallies in the back end of that matchup, so I do think that Sonego played very well. And based on the eye test from what I saw in both matches, I thought Sonego looked better than Nakashima. Yes, Nakashima looked good, but when you're against the guy who can't return, you're going to look better by default. So give me Sonego in this one. Think there's a pretty live dog in this one. I'll go with the over. I'll go with Sonego in 5, actually. But I do think it's going to be a close matchup. I think minus 200, though, is very, very steep. Give me the dog. Give me Sonego at around plus 162 for my main thought on that one. Moving on to the next matchup taking place on Saturday. Moving on to Kaboli against Mensik. Now, for this one, you have Mensik being the favorite, but not by a lot. He is about, pulling it up right now, sorry. He's about minus 170. You have Kaboli at plus 140. For the over-under in this one, I see the line being set at 38.5. And for the actual game spread, I see minus 2.5 for Mensik, plus 2.5 for Kaboli. For the head-to-head, they have faced off one time in Finland in 2023, and you saw Mensik win in straight sets. That was a hard court event, by the way, as he won 7-5, 7-6. So I think for the sake of this matchup, look at the path for both players. Kaboli's looked pretty solid, ended up winning in straight sets in the second round, beating the likes of Jones in straight sets. Also beat a relative unknown in the first set as well. So pretty favorable draw for Kaboli, but has still not dropped a set yet. For Mensik, dropped a set to Gaston, dropped a set to Giron. I like the over in this matchup. Broken record again, but I do think both guys can serve well. I can see a breaker here. I think that you're looking at Kaboli, though, who can be tricky enough to maybe steal the match. I think that Mensik has still not looked amazing on grass. He's gotten by. The win against Giron was fine. He did leave the door open a time or two, survived in 4. See a similar story here. I think Kaboli could, in theory, win the match, but I like the over. I think you're going to see a close matchup. Said before, the only meeting on hard court was a straight set win for Mensik, but there were 25 games in those 2 sets. Bodes well for the over. Give me the over for this matchup. Moving on to the I'm going to skip over the center match because why bother? Martinez is going to get destroyed. I'll skip over the Dimitrov match. Dimitrov should beat Offner, but I don't really know if he's going to be fully there physically. He should be because he got by Mutet. I'll pass, though. It's minus 315. Don't have many other lines on the matchup, so I'll pass on that one, too. Moving on, though, to the next matchup, going to look at Cilic against Munar. So for this one, Cilic is favored, actually, at minus 175. Munar is a slight dog, not by a ton, but you could argue that it's warranted because Cilic just beat the top 4 player in the world in Draper. Munar, though, is plus 135. For the spread, minus 3.5 for Cilic, plus 3.5 for Munar. The over-unders at 40.5. Now, for the actual matchups in the head-to-head, they have faced off a couple of times. Cilic is 2-0, never dropped a set. Both meetings, though, were in 2022. Beat him in Cincinnati in the straight sets and beat him in Adelaide in straight sets as well. For the actual score lines for those matches, if you actually care, 6-3, 6-3 in the most recent one. That was still back in 2022. That one was in Cincinnati. In the matchup in Adelaide, Cilic should win 7-6, 6-2. So there was a breaker in there, but 3 of the 4 sets are pretty lopsided in favor of Cilic. I know that Munar has been playing some great tennis recently. Almost beat Alcaraz, was able to make it past Bublik in the first round, and ended up winning in straight sets against Morozin in the second round. As for Cilic, though, he's been great. Won a grass challenger in Nottingham, ended up parlaying that into a win in straight sets against Calignon, ended up beating Draper in 4 sets, despite having some crowd support go against them, as they were, of course, rooting for Draper. For this one, I am going to go with Cilic. I think even though Munar's bumped up his actual level recently, Cilic's serve is so tough to deal with, and I do think if you're able to neutralize Draper's return game, Munar's going to have problems breaking serve here. Munar's also not a great server. I think Cilic can perform well here. He might drop a set, so if you want to go for Cilic, maybe punting a set if he goes up 2-0, or maybe ends up winning in what could be a marathon. I did not mind the Cilic to win and both players to win a set, which you can find once again available at about plus 154. I like the price. I think Cilic's ground strokes on grass do very well because of the pace and the damage that they actually possess. But Cilic has made a deep run here in the past, made a final before. I think he's the better grass player, comparatively speaking. Give me the option of Cilic winning, but not winning in straight sets. Give me Cilic to win, and give me the over 3.5 sets combined at around plus 1, pulling up the price again, plus 154. See a question, though, from Sashi, if after moneyline is worth a payout or worth a bet because of retirement payout. Maybe. It is Dimitrov we're talking about, so if there was a guy that would potentially get injured after having a 4-set marathon, it would be that guy, so maybe. Offner didn't look amazing to me against Paul. I thought Paul underachieved. He rolled his ankle, which didn't help. But Offner was able to serve big when he needed to. The first serve percentage, though, is always a weakness for his game. I think he loses, but Dimitrov's a big enough head case to get injured and to potentially just roll over in the matchup. So I can understand where you're coming from. I'll pass, though. I think Dimitrov would win, barring injury, if I had to predict that matchup. Anyway, it's going to wrap it up for the actual discussion for the third round of Wimbledon. Time to move on into the lock and dog picks. Before we get into the actual plays, a reminder they're brought to you by our sponsor, which is Arnold Fantasy, because they're doing Best Mania happening all summer long, giving away $5 million in prizes, including $15 million in prizes, including $2 million to first place. No waiver wire, no arguments about trades. Best ball is the best way to play fantasy football. Also, use Arnold for pick'em contests. When you sign up, though, use the code SGPN. They get a special pick and draw times that offer up to $1K in bonus cash. Visit promo code SGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm because they just dropped a game-changing feature called Power Trends, which are additive patterns. Those models consistently won it, and they give you a high ROI. They give you picks, so you can just tail them if you want to, and their hit rate's pretty high. A reminder, though, Power Trends are updated every day. They're exclusive to Rhythm, and you can also use it for great data-backed picks. When you download the app, though, check out Power Trends, start betting smarter, and also try to for free for a week with a 7-day free trial for sportsgamblers.com/rhythm to get your 7-day free trial. Sportsgamblers.com/rhythm to get your 7-day free trial. Welcome back, everyone, to the Tennis Game Podcast. Went to the third round. Time to move on into the lock and dog picks. Now, for the lock and dog, I'm going to go with a pretty unique parlay for the lock. I'm going to go with a prop with a pretty heavy money line to reduce the actual juice on the prop. I'm going to go to the Djokovic match and the de Minaur match. Give me de Minaur money line against Holmgren, parlayed with Joker and Kekmanovic under half a breaker at minus 130 in the two-pick parlay. They faced off in 8 sets in their careers. Joker and Kekmanovic have never had a tiebreak. Joker was amazing against Evans. I do think that Kekmanovic, who's been serving fine, is just innate for a world of hurt here against Joker. He's never beaten him before. He's only won a set one time. Joker tends to dominate these matches quickly. Faced off in Wimbledon in 2022, and Joker did win in straight sets. He only dropped 7 games in the entire match. I think Joker rolls here, but I think that him being a minus 230 favorite sounds about right. I think you could argue maybe he even loses a set if he loses focus. The point is, Kekmanovic, I think, will not go to a breaker here. I think it'll be similar to the Joker match against Vukic. Maybe not to the same degree on the scoreline, but the idea is similar, where you're looking at what I think will be pretty straightforward sets in favor of Djokovic, and I do think Ivanovic will not. I'd say he's not going to defend his serve well enough to avoid getting broken in each set. I do think you're looking at a good spot to back the head-to-head trend here. Looking at the actual sets for Kecmanovic, 13 of his 14 grass sets recently have not ended in a tiebreak, so I do like the price there. It's about minus 160, minus 170, but if you throw in the de Minaur money line, it does drop to minus 130, so I'll do that. Now, Holmgren has had a Cinderella run where they're qualifying. He has gone to the brink in almost every single match, but it's his first ever third-round match at a Grand Slam. He played against Makic in the second round, fought off multiple match points, came back and won. The problem was 4 of Holmgren's first 5 Wimbledon matches, including qualifying, have gone to a deciding set. He played 4.5 hours against Makic on Thursday. Fatigue could be an issue. De Minaur to drop a set to Kaza, but he coasted 1-8 bagel in the final set. De Minaur, though, is a great returner. He can force Holmgren to extra rallies, and I think fatigue can play a factor if this match goes distance. Give me De Minaur parlayed with the under half a breaker in the Joker match at around plus 130 for the 2-pick parlay is my lock. For my dog, I'm going to go to the Fritz match against Fokina. Deja vu match faced off in Eastbourne about a week ago, and you saw Fritz beat him in the semis in 3. Give me Fritz to win, and both players win a set at plus 132. Fokina has given Fritz some problems, but Fritz is much better on grass. Fritz, though, has had a couple of marathons. 5 of his last 6 matches have not ended in straight sets. Each of the 2 Wimbledon matches so far have gone to 5 against Perricard and against Hallis. So not Hallis, against Diallo in 5 sets as well. I think you're looking at what should be a fun matchup. I think Fritz will take his foot off the gas for 1 set. Fokina, though, is a worse server than, once again, Diallo and Perricard. So Fritz might get into a couple more return games, which is why I think he's going to win the matchup. But Fokina did just win a set against him on grass a week ago. And look at the head-to-head, Fokina's been good at making it difficult for Fritz. Fokina has won at least 1 set in 5 to 6 career meetings. And on top of that, once again, they face off in Eastbourne in the semis a week ago, and Fritz won in 3. I think Fritz once again survives, but does not thrive. Fokina's been good. He's in good form. I think he'll win at least a set, but I do think that Fritz will eventually use his serve and his weapons and firepower to eventually just overwhelm Fokina, which we saw in that 3rd set in Eastbourne about a week ago. Give me the same script. Give me Fritz to win in 4 or 5. So once again, the plays here for the 3rd round. The lock's going to be on a 2-pick parlay. I'm going to go with Djokovic under half a breaker, parlayed with de Minaur money line at minus 130. For the dog, I'm going to go with Fritz to win the match, and both players win a set at plus 132. I think Fokina hangs around, but I think that Fritz gets through. Give me the dog here at plus 132. It's going to wrap it up with the show, though. We're back once again for the 4th round of the Wimbledon card. A reminder, if you are living in America, happy early July 4th. Till next time, good luck to all of you and all of your bats. Bye, everyone.